I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're here in the States, and that you got to spend time with your family and your friends if you had a Friendsgiving. I know it's a weird year, and we did Zoom with my family across the country, and that was interesting and that was fun. For us, that's kind of normal though. I have a sister in Florida, sister in Tennessee, lots of family in Oregon where I'm from. So for us, that's kind of a normal, like Thanksgiving is the Zooming, but I'm sure a lot of you did that as well. So just want to say hey and do an awkward live because this is the second time. I don't know why. This is the second time I've ever gone live on this channel. But I am behind on videos this week, so I wanted to just talk to you guys. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is something that came up for me about a week ago. And that is the idea that we're broken. Have you ever told yourself, I'm broken, or you told somebody else, I'm broken, I'm messed up, I'm screwed up, I'm effed up, whatever, I have baggage? I think that there's something that is almost, it's like a self-deprecating humor to say that you're broken. And sometimes people really sincerely mean it, and other times it's more humor-based. But either way, there's this idea that collectively we agree with that we are broken or that society is broken. And how it came up for me is I was purging and letting go of some anger, which is actually, I'm taking myself through a program that I'm going to be bringing to you guys about anger and releasing anger and healing anger. But as I was putting together the program, I realized how desperately I needed it myself. So I'm taking myself through it first to be my own guinea pig. And one of the things that came up as I was processing through some of this anger and doing some self-forgiveness is I realized that I had been telling myself, not necessarily that I'm broken, because I understand that we're all whole. But even though I was telling myself this narrative that I am not broken, that I am whole, that I am creative, I'm resourceful, I'm whole, there's nothing about me that is quote unquote broken, I had this secondary narrative running in the back of my mind, the secondary agreement that I had made with myself that I'm from a broken home. I grew up with my parents being divorced, and that's not, back then, I guess it was a little bit more taboo than it is now. I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing for your parents to be divorced at all, but society told me I'm from a broken home. And aside from just society, my own parents told me I'm from a broken home. And we all collectively agree that if what you call a household that has two parents that are divorced, that's a broken home, right? When in reality, it's not a broken home. There's nothing broken about it. They could have a broken relationship, if you want to look at it that way. But at the end of the day, it does not reflect on the children as far as the brokenness. The brokenness is the agreement that we have all collectively made when we look at somebody and we judge them and we say, oh, that child is from a broken home, or that person is broken, or you see somebody that has a behavior that does not fit into what we deem as good, and you say that person is broken. They're wounded. If you've been hurt by somebody, therefore you're broken. Right? And these are agreements that we make within ourselves. And you're like, oh yeah, that sounds normal. That sounds right. I've been hurt. I have had a broken heart. How many times does the word broken come up that we collectively label something as broken? When in reality, it's not broken, but it's wounded. You feel the pain, you experience the suffering, you experience the loneliness, the sadness. We all have these things that come up inside us that are instinctually protective mechanisms. So you have people who have anger, and what is anger protecting? What is behind anger? It's sadness, it's pain, it's rejection, it's abandonment, it's fear of abandonment, it's fear of experiencing what you once experienced before, and it comes up as anger because you're like, no, I'm gonna push this away. I'm not going to allow myself to experience this again. I'm going to protect myself. And a lot of these things, they just happen instinctually because it's the way that our ego or our mind protects our heart, protects the inner child. But when we tell ourselves that we're broken, what are we communicating with ourselves? Something that is broken cannot function properly. So when we have this agreement within ourselves, we're handicapping ourselves. So even though I was telling myself I am whole, I understand that I am whole. I am working through suppressed trauma. I'm working through things that I've not healed before. I'm healing them for the first time in my life so that I can let go of the baggage and I can be fully who I am. And really what that is, I'm already fully who I am, but I have to believe it. Because what does it matter if I don't believe that I am powerful? What does it matter if I don't believe that I'm intelligent? What does it matter if I don't believe that I can have my own business? I can do all those things right now. There's nothing that needs to change, and that's what being whole is. But you need to believe that you're whole in order to take advantage of those things. Because when we believe that we're broken, or we believe that we're wounded, or we believe all of these things that they hold us back, you can't go forward. You are stopping you. And it sounds so much easier than it is. Believe me. We get caught in this, oh, well, I need to heal this. Or even before we get to the point of recognizing that it needs to heal, again, how many times do we say, well, I'm broken? They broke my heart. They broke my spirit. Working in this environment is disheartening. They broke me. They break down their employees. If you're a soldier in the military, what is the main purpose of basic training is to break you down so they can build you back up the way that they want you to be, the way that they want you to behave. But it's this idea that you're capable of being broken. There are times where the brain kicks in and protects us so profoundly that we call that mental illness, and it usually manifests in the form of multiple personality disorder. I'm not speaking in the term of that type of abuse to where a psyche splits. I'm talking about just normal everyday life where you feel that you are broken, or you feel that you have baggage, or you can't enter into this relationship with this person, or you keep sabotaging every relationship that you ever have because you're broken. Because what is that? That's an excuse that will continue to hold you back. And that's okay. But you have the choice. Do you want to stay there or do you not? And most of the time, it's subconscious. It's not even you consciously thinking, okay, I'm going to keep myself locked here, because who would do that? That's insanity. None of us want to keep ourselves locked. In fact, it's actually the opposite. Why are you watching this? Why do you watch my channel? Why do you watch channels that are similar to mine? Why do you do anything with self-help? Because you know somewhere inside of you that you deserve better and you're capable of more and you're capable of the life that you want to live. Hey, love. Worldwide stride. So when we are unconscious, or yeah, I guess the word would be unconscious, to the fact that we can do something about it, then we are stuck in victim mode. And this happens to me, and I'm broken, and so on and so forth. And the narrative continues. What made it so profound for me the other day is what I was doing is, first I was expressing the anger. I'll give you guys kind of a little sneak peek of what this program is going to be that I'm going to roll out to you guys, which will probably, just to let you know, probably be like the first or second week of the new year. I've still got some work I've got to take myself through. What I was doing is I was allowing myself to fully express the anger that I felt, and just whatever way it wanted to come out, whatever form it wanted to take. It could be a noise, completely like animalistic, whatever, body shaking, really things that I don't want to do in front of other people because it's so vulnerable and it's so it feels so wrong because, again, we're told you don't express anger. You don't show anger. If you're angry, like, calm down. Sorry, I just hit the mic. Calm down is what we're told. But what that does is it just shoves it back down. And so what I was doing is I was allowing it to come out. I was allowing it to come out in an environment where I was completely by myself, where nobody could overhear me. I wouldn't feel embarrassed. And it was a safe way for me to express the anger. And I didn't judge the anger as it came out. And sometimes it comes out directed at somebody, because sometimes that's what you have to do in order to pull it out of you and to let it come and just say, I'm angry, and keep saying it till it builds up, until you can get it out of you. And then whatever comes out. And that's what I was doing. Once it's out, then I can go back in and I can clean it up. Because for me personally, if it's coming out directed at somebody, I feel really guilty for thinking the things I think about that person. Justified or not, it doesn't matter. I feel guilty thinking some of the things that I think about people who hurt me. It could be completely unintentional on their part, but my feelings are still hurt. I still felt some sort of way about it. And what I had done is I had justified shoving that anger back down because of my compassion and because of understanding, hey, this person is having a bad day. They didn't mean what they said to me. Or I know their heart and I know that that's not really what they think. Or they were completely like, they're super busy and they didn't mean to blow me off, or whatever it was that hurt my feelings. I feel guilty feeling hurt by that person who hurt me. And a lot of times when somebody hurts me, so say for my husband, for example, he'll feel so bad when I communicate to him that something hurt my feelings, that I find myself making him feel better about hurting me. And I'm not giving myself the ability or the authority or the sanctuary that I need to safely and process the anger in a safe and healthy way. So that is part of why it's difficult for me to process through anger, and why, even though I understand the importance of it, I end up shoving it down. So when I was in this place and I was completely by myself and I was allowing it to come out, for me, you might not feel this way. And if you don't feel this way, don't do it, because it's just about cleaning up the belief systems. So for me, I needed to come back and I needed to forgive myself for thinking the things that I thought about that person. But I needed to do that for me because the guilt would keep me from moving forward. And I need to move forward so that I can let that go. If I don't let it go, even with my best intentions, that will turn into bitterness, which can turn into hatred and can ruin my relationships, ruin my friendships. So it's very important to process it the healthy way. And in doing so, that is where that whole idea of brokenness came from. It took us a while to get back to the topic, but we got there. So I'm in the car is where I was doing it. That's my safe place. And I was screaming and I was crying and I was saying whatever. And I was talking to people from my past, and I was talking to people from my private school that I went to. And if you guys haven't seen that video, it's the one where it says, am I in a cult? It's a little bit clickbait, but it was my experience at that private Christian school. I was talking to people there, and I was talking to my parents, and hey, Alchemy of Life. I was processing this anger and I was directing it at whoever I felt it needed to be directed to. But when I came back in and I started to forgive myself, I forgive myself for having bought into the belief that, and then insert whatever the belief was. I forgive myself for judging myself as bad for saying these things about people. I forgive myself for judging myself as evil for feeling these things about these people or thinking these things about these people. And so I was cleaning up how I felt about myself for expressing the anger, and cleaning up my belief systems about the anger or about situations that made me angry. And one of the things, when you start going in this and you really just start saying whatever needs to come out, you will be so surprised at the hidden agreements that you have made with yourself. Because this agreement, this idea that I was broken or that I was from a broken home, that agreement came when I was like 6, 7, 8, somewhere very young. I can't pinpoint exactly where it was, but somebody told me that I was from a broken home. It was not an agreement that I had at that age by myself. It was not a thought I would have had at that age to look at myself in the mirror and say, Brittany, you're from a broken home. Your family is broken. You are broken. How could I have conceptualized that? So it was an agreement that I made with somebody else. And I have no idea who first said it. And it might not have even been said to me. It may have been said around me. It may have been explained about somebody else and their family. I might have overheard an adult saying, that's a broken home. I might have seen it on a TV show where they're talking about divorce or whatever relationships that split up, and they use the term broken home. I don't know where I heard it first, but at some point I identified and I understood that because my parents were divorced, that meant I was from a broken home. But I don't have to subscribe to that belief system anymore. I don't have to agree with those labels or those terms because it doesn't hold society back to say that I'm from a broken home. It wouldn't hold you back to label me and say that I grew up in a broken home, but it holds me back to agree with what other people say and what society says, that I'm from a broken home. Because broken means not whole. And if I'm not whole, I cannot come into my fullness. I cannot be the me that I know that I am. Again, it's already here. I have done so much education. I can continue to do more education, and I will. It's like all of these things that I personally, at least, I tell myself, like, I need this, I need this, I need this. I need to be this smart, or I need to be, hey, babe, Life with Stan is in the chat, my hubby. I tell myself that I need to check all these things off these lists in order to be intelligent or in order to be this strong person that I want. But you know what? It doesn't matter how many thousands of dollars I pay for my education. It doesn't matter how many continued education classes I take. It doesn't matter how many new certifications I get. It doesn't matter how many more degrees I get. None of them are going to make me feel confident. I can be confident in my skill set, but they're not going to make me feel like a more confident person when I'm talking to strangers in public at a grocery store. None of the things, losing this weight, yes, I would love to lose weight. That's not going to make me a more confident person, though. As much as I would love to tell myself that, and it will play a part, but it won't, if I believe I'm broken, it won't fix the part of me that's holding me back because I still have this belief in me that I'm broken. And like I said, they're tricky sometimes. These belief systems, these hidden agreements that we make in our childhood, when we become adults and we can logically speak to ourselves and we can understand things from a much broader perspective, this thing happened and I can see that. So say, for example, I know that this kid said this thing in school. It hurt my feelings when I was 7. I know that kids are jerks. I know that they don't have the ability to comprehend the gravity of their words. And even if they have intention to emotionally wound the person that they're talking to, they don't even fully grasp what that means. And a 7-year-old doesn't even think about tomorrow. So they're not going to be able to grasp the concept of that this is going to be continuing to hold this person back when they're 40, right? So you can explain that to yourself as an adult. But these things, they're tricky. These agreements, they can still be there, because it shocked me as I was going through this, expressing this anger and going through and cleaning up the belief systems and cleaning up the judgment. And I just out of nowhere just said, I forgive myself for having bought into the belief that my family is broken. And I forgive myself for having bought into the belief that I'm from a broken home. Because although as an adult and all of this work that I've been doing and healing myself and teaching y'all and sharing what I've been going through these last couple months, these things, they're subtle. And it really surprised me that that was there, because as much as I can tell myself, yes, I'm not broken, I am whole, and I believe I'm whole. I fully believe I am whole as a person, but I didn't realize that there was this other belief system saying my family's broken, my family's screwed up, blah, blah, blah. We tell ourselves these things. How many people, especially with Thanksgiving, have been yesterday? If you spend time with your family, or if you did a Zoom call like we did, how many of you thought to yourself, even if you didn't say it out loud, my family is screwed up? Seriously. That belief system is still holding you back, because you're a part of your family. So if you label your family as screwed up, as effed up, as broken, broken home, broken family, broken hearted, you're part of that. You know that you're a part of your family, whether you claim them or not. So whatever you're labeling them, you're labeling yourself. And these things, they're tricky. These subtle belief systems, they get in there. And they're continuing to, it's the ego's way of protecting you still. I keep hitting this mic, I'm sorry. It's still trying to protect you. The ego is as frustrating as it can be. It's not really your enemy. It's just a program, and it's designed to protect the inner child. So those subtle belief systems that are there, they're not there to hurt you intentionally, but they're still there holding you back. So I talked for about 23 minutes now, and I think you've probably got the concept of this message. And the question is, are we broken? Of course, the answer is no. But it's so much deeper than that. If it were that easy to say the answer's no, and we fully believe it, because I fully believed that I am whole, then it would be easy and everyone would do it. But at the end of the day, it's not that easy for most people. I'm not going to say for everyone. Some people can do those quantum jumps, and I love you and I'm jealous. We have these subtle belief systems inside of us. And I want you to think about the way that you not only talk about yourself, but the way that you talk about your family. Because again, if you label, however you label your family is how you're labeling yourself. And if you don't want to get stuck in that belief system, how can you change the way that you look at your family? Now, if you are in the midst of a really stressful and hurtful situation with your family, it can be difficult to say and justify in your mind that they're not broken, or that your family's not broken, because you can look at it and you can see the dysfunction that is happening. You can understand with each person and follow their trail to understand why they are the way they are. It's not justifying their actions, okay? It's not giving them permission to push beyond the healthy boundaries that you have set within that relationship of your family. All I'm talking about is how you're labeling it. So you can say, my brother is hurt from things he has experienced, and he projects it in this way. Or my mother she lives in fear, and she's afraid of the way that the world is going right now, or she was afraid of how the election was going to go, and she was spewing all this hate and this negativity, or my father, he believes this way, and he's afraid that this is like, people, they're living in fear-based belief systems right now, and they're projecting it and pushing it out. Keep hitting this mic. They're projecting it and pushing it out, and you can recognize that for what it is, and you can see that they're hurting and they're scared. And what's behind that? What is behind their fear? What is behind their hurt? It's the desire to be safe. It's the desire to be loved. It's the desire to be accepted. It's the desire to live the dream, which we would call the American dream, to be prosperous, to be safe, and to be able to live a life based upon our individual values and morals. That's ultimately what everyone wants. So we really are all on the same page as far as what we want, but it comes out differently based upon our belief systems. So you can acknowledge that without labeling them as broken. You can empower them, whether they accept it or not. You can empower your family by understanding that they are whole, but they have to believe it. They have to tap into it. That's their journey. That's their free will. It has nothing to do with you. You can't control it. You can't force it. You can't make people heal. But don't label them as broken, because that's a reflection of you, and ultimately it's not true, because you're not. You simply have to remember that you are not broken. You have to remember the strength that you have, and give yourself grace, okay? Because again, if you're in the midst of it, if you are currently experiencing a high stress environment, a very hurtful environment, yesterday, again, if you're in the States and you celebrated Thanksgiving either with your family or had some sort of interaction with your family, if yesterday you endured verbal abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, that is not okay. That is not justified in any way. And if you can avoid those situations or get out of those situations, do it, because that's not what this is. You can get yourself out of a dangerous situation and still love them, but protect yourself. If you're in the midst of it, be gracious with yourself, and don't try to force yourself into this mindset or this belief system, because your number one priority is really to get yourself to a safe space, either mentally, physically, whatever you need to do. Once you are out of the stressful environment, that's when you can come back in and you can change the way that you think. You can heal. You can do that. When you're in the midst of it, just be gracious with yourself, okay? You need to take care of you. But later, when it's safe, later when you're away from it, that's when I want you to be careful about how you label things, and understand that you're healing you. And it's okay to realize that you have these hidden belief systems, just like I did, because it's part of the journey. And it's amazing to me what I find. And as hard as it is sometimes to go that deep, as terrifying as it can be to face those memories and those feelings that you don't want to feel, when you get that aha moment and you get that breakthrough, it is worth it. Everything is worth it. I don't think that there's a better feeling in the world. When I realized that I had that belief system in me, that I was from a broken home and that my family was broken because we were from a broken home, and I was able to decide, because it's one thing to find that out, to acknowledge it. It's another thing that you have to decide, do you want to keep this belief system or do you want to let it go? Because you can see it, but you still have to make a decision. Do you keep it or do you release it? And when I recognized and I realized that that was there, and I was able to change my mind and speak truth and say no, my family is not broken. My family has never been broken. There are a web of soul contracts within my family. I keep hitting this mic and I don't know if it's as loud as it sounds for me, and I'm so sorry. There is a web of soul contracts within my family. And they all, because we're a family, they all play into one another. And it affects everybody because it's a family. It doesn't mean that we're broken. It means that we chose to come in together to experience certain things, and we all have free will about how we experience these things. But ultimately, we have these catalysts that we all agreed on, and these catalysts would give us the opportunity to have the experiences that we wanted. So say, for example, if I wanted to experience what it was like to forgive somebody, and if I wanted to come in and I wanted to master forgiveness in this lifetime, I'm going to be given many opportunities to forgive. How can I be given opportunities to forgive? Shit has to happen. Forgive my language, but things have to happen to hurt me, or I have to believe that I'm hurt in order to forgive. And ultimately, forgiveness is understanding that there's nothing left to forgive. There's no reason to forgive because you can see the bigger picture. So understanding that my family isn't broken sets me free one step closer to coming into my wholeness and not holding myself back, because I can't be a whole person from a broken home. But I can be a whole person from 2 whole homes, or 3 whole homes, or whatever your upbringing looked like. If you are somebody who went through the foster care system, how many homes did you have? I know that that is proven to be one of the most difficult, for many, many, many people, one of the most difficult upbringings that you can have. But it doesn't mean that those homes were broken, because you're not broken. You're not broken. And this might resonate with you. You might feel resistance to this. Either way, it's perfect. Either way, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And if you have the desire to heal, you'll get to a point where you can say, and you can really fully believe, I am not broken. If you can't say that and fully believe it right now, that's okay. But it's baby steps. Try to be aware of how you're labeling yourself and how you're labeling your family or those around you that are your guardians, whatever your situation looks like. And understand that you are whole, they are whole, empower them. Again, they might not be aware of this at all. And you don't have to tell them. You do not have to tell them that you believe they're whole. I highly recommend to not do that, because you're probably going to make them angry, especially if they don't understand your process and they're completely asleep. They're not going to understand what you mean when you tell them that they're not broken, that they're whole, and they will probably take offense to it, and then you'll see their insecurities come up, and that may backlash, and that would hurt you more. You don't need to say anything to them. It's something that's within you. It's the way that you look at them. It's the way that you think about them. I'm going to see some of these comments here. Alchemy of Life. A lot of fear-based belief comes from religion. Religion says to be God-fearing. That's the biggest one. A lot of my family are religious. I'm not, but their fear comes from that mainly. And I would say I agree. Religious things, but then also anytime that somebody is out of control, you see a lot of fear as well, because especially with the last several months with the political system in our country, we know that there's more than just 2 sides, but it's like it's forced, everything is forced into this funnel that comes out as either Democrat or Republican. There are way more options than just Democrat or Republican, but we're collectively like, they're forcing us through this funnel where it comes out as either one or the other. And I've seen a lot of fear around that as well. So there's so many different ways that fear presents itself. Religion is definitely one, because people are told from such an early age that pretty much be grateful. I'm speaking just about Christianity here because I'm not very well versed in other religions, so I don't want to misspeak. But I know for Christianity, you're told from a very early age, if you grow up in a Christian home, that you are sinful and that the wages of sin is death, and be thankful that Jesus died for your sins so that you don't have to go to hell and burn forever in eternal damnation. That's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. And that's where I completely agree with you, Alchemy of Life. A lot of fear-based belief systems come from that. As it should, because that idea is terrifying. And it's so terrifying that it's not even worth questioning, because what if you're wrong? And I've heard that so many times growing up, where the argument for Christianity, this fake argument that didn't even happen, I'm sure, that was explained to me one time, was that there were two people talking, an atheist and a Christian. And the atheist says, why are you doing all of these things? You could go out and you could have all of this fun, and you can sleep with people, and you can drink, and blah, blah, blah. And they're really, I mean, like, atheist people are not all about the self-serving, like, these things that are going to hurt your body and hurt yourself. But that was the way that it was depicted to me, as if you weren't Christian, then it's kind of like the movie Pinocchio, the island of, what was that? I'm thinking of Rudolph, the Island of Misfit Toys. But where the bad boys went, and they were like smoking and drinking and gambling and playing pool, like all these bad things and these self-serving things. Like, that was the way that it was presented to me as a kid. It's either you're a Christian and you do good and you stay on this good path, or you're not a Christian and you do all of these bad self-serving things. And that's just not the way that it is. But in this fake story that was told to me as a kid, and I keep hitting this mic, told to me as a kid, is that an atheist and a Christian were having a conversation, and the atheist said, why do you do all these things? You could be out having fun, and instead you're kind of like a fuddy-duddy, like you're staying on the straight and narrow, and that's boring, man. And what if you're wrong? What if at the end of your life you're wrong and this was all for nothing? And then the Christian says, well, what if you're wrong? And that's like supposed to stop the argument. And as a kid, I was like, yeah. I mean, like, what if the Christian is wrong? Well, it doesn't matter if the Christian's wrong, because then they lived a good life. But what if they're not wrong? What are the consequences? So the consequences of them being wrong are just that they were a good person. And the consequences that they are wrong, or they're not wrong, is that they don't burn in hell. So it's like this idea of, it literally is an idea telling people subconsciously it's not even worth questioning. So these fear-based belief systems are not even worth questioning, because what if you're wrong? And that holds you hostage. And again, if you're a Christian, you're probably not really watching this channel. If you really call yourself a Christian, and that's okay. But if you are watching this channel and you really do fully believe in Christianity, and that's totally fine, and I love that for you, you have to be true to yourself. And if that resonates with you, great. It did not resonate with me, because I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus, and I believe that they're love. And I don't subscribe to the fear-based part of it. I don't subscribe to the control part of it, because either you have free will or you don't have free will. And if God tells you you have free will and that you are loved and you are perfect, but then if you don't do his will, then you're going to burn in hell, that's not free will. that's not what free will looks like, and that's not what love looks like. And I was also told that God is the perfect parent. And I know as a parent, my children could do some unspeakable things. And I may have to not necessarily turn my back on them, but say if my child was to murder somebody, I would turn them in. I would tell them that they need to accept the consequences of their actions. But would I hate them? Would I cry because I was brokenhearted because they made decisions that hurt themselves and hurt other people? Absolutely. Would that be devastating? Absolutely. But I'm not going to say, I hope you burn in hell to my own child. And if I wouldn't say that as a parent, I can't fathom that God would. Because if God is loving, God is a perfect parent. I mean, God's patience far outweighs my own. I am positive about that. Let's see what other comments have been said. Alchemy of Life says, Christians are very self-serving. They do what they want to do. Get into heaven. It's straight self-serving. That's straight self-serving. Yes, some. I will say not all. I have met some Christians that are very, very heart-centered. They still have the fear-based belief systems, but there are some out there that I would call true Christians, what followers of the Christ were meant to be, to follow Jesus's lead and his example. They do exist. What's funny is they may not realize it, but I actually would put them into the category of like Christian mystics, rather than Christians. But I absolutely see what you're saying. Like, there's a lot of Christians out there that are in this mentality of, what can I do to get into heaven? Or like, I need to do this to get into heaven, or I have to say this prayer to get into heaven. And it is self-serving. It is. This is I'm going to say something that may trigger some people here. You can come at me if you want to. It's just my personal belief that I think is worth thinking about. And again, it's not going to resonate with everybody, but it's something that I realized when I was told that babies go to hell if you have a miscarriage, or like if you have an abortion or something like that. I didn't believe that. And I have met many, many people who agree with me that God would not send a child to hell, an infant to hell, who didn't even have a chance to choose for themselves. And so there is I would say a majority agreement within the church that there's a certain kind of cutoff age. It's not really an age, but it's more of a mentality, a mindset. Whenever, so say for example, in the Lutheran church, when my kids were little, I asked, like, how do you know, like, when do they become a Christian? And the pastor said that when the child takes the wafer at communion on their own accord and eats it, that they are a member of the church. So it might be when they're 1, it might be when they're 2, 3, 4. It's a mentality thing. And that's where the belief, like people who are mentally handicapped, God would not send them to hell because they can't cognitively make that decision of their own free will. So taking out the mentally handicapped people and just looking at children, if you believe that your children choose of their own accord whether they want to be a Christian or not, and if they choose not to, then they'll go to hell. But there is a period of time where they don't have that cognitive ability. Would you not have an abortion to save them and have them go straight to heaven? I know this might sound like a weird question, but would it not be more merciful if you truly love your children? Would it not be more merciful to have an abortion and them go straight to heaven versus allow the potential of the risk for your child to burn an eternity in hell? Like, it doesn't make sense. And that would be, in my opinion, a self-serving, or I guess a self-serving belief, because then it's like, well, if I have an abortion, then that's murder, then I'll go to hell. If you're a loving parent, would you not sacrifice your soul to save your child's soul? Or would it be that you are cowardice and you would rather go to heaven and try to raise your child right, but still risk the potential of their soul? Now, this is completely just something to make you guys think about kind of the hypocrisy of that mindset. I'm not saying one way or another, but it's something to think about. We have these belief systems, or there's this religious idea of these belief systems, and really they contradict each other. I'm not telling you that one way is right, one way is wrong, but you have to decide for yourself what resonates with truth within you. And I met Christians all across the board. So again, that was quite a train there, but getting back to what you're saying, Alchemy of Life, of them getting into heaven and having this kind of self-serving mentality, I have met people who truly have the most sincerest hearts, and they give so much to their community, and they love their family, and they're just the most giving, hospitable people. And I've met some that do the same, and it's for selfish mindset because they want to get that recognition. Hey, look at me. Look at what I sacrificed. Look at what I gave to the community. I've got so many points in heaven. However, some people have belief systems of like this point system where you can go to heaven and you can have a shack, but hey, at least you're in heaven, and you can go to heaven and you'll have a mansion because you've done all this stuff. Like, there's belief systems across the board when it comes to this kind of stuff. Let's see. Alchemy of Life said hell would be the lower plane of thoughts, or the underworld or lower dimensions, and heaven the higher states of thoughts and ethers. Yeah, and I mean, that's what Jesus was talking about when he said that the kingdom of heaven is now. The kingdom of heaven is here. And that's hard. That's a hard concept. I don't know if people pay attention to this series I do, Conversations with God, but it was talking about, I think it was the last video or the second to last video, that we put ourselves through hell looking for heaven. And we actually leave the state of heaven and go into the state of hell looking for the state of heaven. And we all do it. And I keep hitting this microphone. I need to move it. We all do that. And how do you explain Alchemy of Life? Maybe you can tell me this. How would you explain heaven on this plane so that somebody understands that they're there, that they're actually experiencing heaven? What I would say is that heaven is the state of peace, contentment, joy, even happiness. You don't live in happiness and joy. Those are things that come and go, but you can live and maintain in the state of peace. And likewise, hell would be a state of resistance. Hell would be, hey, Double Z Ranch. We're talking about how would somebody know that they're in the mindset of heaven or the mindset of hell? And Jesus was talking about that the kingdom of heaven is here. And I think that hell is his resistance. Hell is where you're in suffering, where you feel that you're separate and you feel that you're alone, and you believe in duality. You believe that you are separate from God, or you're separate from other people. Or again, going into the topic of this live, are we broken? When you believe that you're broken, anything that's holding you hostage and holding you back from your truth and the wholeness of who you are and the perfection that you were created to be and experience, that would be hell. And how many of us are living in that day in and day out. And for me, again, I think peace is the state of heaven. Peace is understanding that you are safe, you are protected, you are taken care of, that you are loved, you are one with God, you are one with everyone else, that you're not, that you are eternal, that you cannot die. Peace is understanding that no matter what comes up, you are ultimately okay. Even if your life is about to end here, you won't actually die. And that's a hard one to stay in, because when you're experiencing it, you're believing it, you're feeling it, and you can touch things and it's tangible. It's difficult to get out of that hell mindset. Alchemy of Life says, heaven is unconditional love for thyself and others. Gnosis? I'm not familiar with that word. And non-judgment. Knowing who you are, gods and goddesses, and accepting the Great Mother because she will always love you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to even simplify it even more than that, heaven is love and hell is fear. The opposite of love. That topic got way off. So yeah, Double Z Ranch. God doesn't save you or fix something on this earth. He grants you the strength to fight and make that positive change. Yes, and that's what free will is. Because we are all equipped. We are able to do these things. Just like a perfect parent isn't a helicopter parent. A perfect parent isn't going to tie their 20-year-old's shoes. A perfect parent is going to teach their child how to tie their own shoes. So that way, as they get older, they can take care of themselves. A perfect parent, a good parent, is going to teach their child how to have proper hygiene. They're going to teach their child how to handle money. They're going to teach their child good work ethic. They're going to teach their child morality. They're going to teach their child love. They're going to be these examples. They're not going to do these things for their children. That holds them back mentally, right? That keeps them dependent on the parent. Then what happens when the parent dies and the child is left to try to fend for themselves for the first time? They flounder and they fail. And that parent did not do their child justice. So if God is the perfect parent, more so than any of us who love our children, God, yes, you are protected, but God has given you what you need to make the difference, to make the change. I love that, Double Z. That is awesome. Yes. God empowers you and equips you to do really anything, whatever your purpose work is. And if you don't know what your purpose work is, this is a perfect segue. Yes, I am a life coach. Did you know that? I have a lot of videos, but I don't actually say that in all of my videos. I, Britta Albert, am a life coach. So if you don't know what your purpose work is, you should book a free 30-minute session with me. I call it a definition session because we're going to go deep and we're going to define what is your purpose work. So if you have no idea what that is, get with me. After this live video, in the description, I'll have a link that you can click and actually go to my calendar and pick a time or day that works with your schedule. Yay, good segue. Yes. Well, it has almost been an hour, and I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. I hope that this live format was something kind of neat, and I want to start doing some more as I go. It probably won't be on Friday mornings just because I know a lot of people work, things like that. So I'm thinking a weekday evening. I'll have to figure out really what works best for my schedule. But yeah, this was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, either the comments here live, or if you're watching the playback, let me know in the comments, did you enjoy this? And would you like to see more lives? Did you enjoy this topic? I hope that you understand that you are not broken. You are whole. Your family is not broken. They are whole. Empower them. You don't have to say it to them, nor should you, but you are perfect. You are right where you're supposed to be, And if you're in the midst of something, that's okay. Be gracious with yourself. Get to a place where it's safe to even start to do this work. If you're not at a point where you can look at yourself and say, I'm whole, I am not broken, be gracious with yourself. Try to be aware of your thoughts and to catch yourself the next time that you say, I'm broken, or I'm messed up, or I'm effed up, or I'm screwed up, or my family's screwed up, or we're a mess, or we're whatever it is that you tell yourself. Just try to be aware of what you're thinking about yourself, what you're thinking about your family, and stop yourself and say, no, that's not true. And it's baby steps till you can get to the point where you can really stand firm in your truth and you can say, I am not broken. My family is not broken. I might feel broken. That's okay. I may feel like I'm broken right now, but I know ultimately I am whole. I'm in the process of healing. I have grace for myself. I love you guys. And thank you so much for being on this live with me. Really enjoyed it. So have a great day. I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. If you're in the States, I don't know if you're Black Friday shopping or not, but enjoy it. Be safe out there. And I will see you guys next time.